It's great to have so many people here this morning. So in our presentation, we're going to introduce the Virtual Internships Project, a 2-year collaboration between the University of Cambridge, BT and Huawei. We'll be reporting today on preliminary findings from the first iteration in computing with students in years 7 and 8, so aged 11 to 13. We'll be reporting teacher, researcher and academic voices on work in progress. So why are we doing this project then? Employers are clear on the skills that students will need as they finish school and enter the world of work, often referred to as future skills or complex competencies that aren't fully addressed in current English school curricula. So building on the real world contexts and challenges of our partner organisations, BT and Huawei, we're setting meaningful challenges that align with the computing curriculum through tasks, guidance and resources to support the development of complex competencies, including communication, dialogue, creativity and group work. So students become interns, role-playing how to problematize and research the challenge and come up with a solution. We're utilising a design-based research framework for this to develop, trial and evaluate the model. And I'll, in the next slide, review some of how this works. So the aim of design-based research is not just to design a program that works, but also to understand how and why it works. Also to do this by using theory to inform design and design to build theory. This involves a process of iterative development and trialing, as shown in the diagram, involving teachers as genuine co-researchers. We're currently at the revised design stage over here on the slide, and we're reporting today on findings from iteration 1 in the initial design phase in computing classrooms. So the work of the project is initially focusing on schools in education opportunity areas, which is a government initiative to promote social mobility in areas where this has traditionally been low. It complements other initiatives, for example, the DfE's career strategy, which states that every student should have at least one employer encounter each year in years 7 to 13. So challenge-based learning was in part a response to research evidence that many students don't find school activities relevant to their own lives and futures. Central to CBL is that learning activities focus on a real-world problem. They start with a global issue or big idea and involve learners developing a local solution with relevance to their own lives. Within the computing programme, we focused on broadly the issues of digital divides and connectivity. CBL also involves the meaningful use of technology, for instance, to research the problem and to design a solution using tools that are appropriate and available. It's important to emphasise that students will not have to solve the global problem, for instance, eradicating all digital divides. What is important, however, is that they work toward proposing or designing a solution that could make a difference on a local level. And what the virtual internships adds to this is support for these team working elements and authentic links to the world of work. So collaborating to create brings together the research, world of work and education aspects of the project. Create here refers both to the process of creating something and also to being creative. So our aim is not only that products are created, but also to support individuals and groups in building their capacity for creativity. By collaborating, we refer to the effective use of classroom talk, particularly in group work. And within the virtual internships, both the collaborating and create elements are developed together. So why is this needed? Research is clear that creativity is rarely an individual activity, and so supporting effective group working practices is core to successful creative problem solving. Group work can only be successful if group members can genuinely talk and listen to each other, being open to alternatives and checking and perhaps changing their understanding. We've embedded the C2C focus throughout the programme through the various tasks and resources aligned to the curriculum and world of work needs. And this is to support the development of students' skills in the current tasks and in preparing for their future in school and beyond the project. We've incorporated a number of ways to link authentically to the world of work, for instance, in the real-world challenges related to connectivity and digital divides. Our partners, BT and Huawei, have recorded videos to set these challenges and encouraging students to be interns in their activities. We're calling on students to be experts in addressing these challenges and bringing their unique perspectives to this, in encouraging the development of skills such as C2C. And we're also using genuine BT Huawei assessment criteria based on a focus on customer sustainability and innovation for students to evaluate their products. So where we're at now, we've just completed phase 1, iteration 1, which is the first implementation in the schools. Within the school, in the computing program, 7 Year 8 classes have been involved with 5 teachers and over 200 students. And it's this data that we'll report on today. I'm going to hand over to Jo now, who's going to share her experiences as a teacher involved.
Hi, I hope everyone can hear me. I work in a school in one of the opportunity areas Alison talked about, and I was approached to get involved. And for me, the project sounded really interesting. And obviously I was keen to link with employers because my role is the school careers lead as well as a computing teacher. And one of the key things for me was looking at the world of work and bringing the key skills needed for the workplace, really, because we don't teach the soft skills such as teamwork and communication. So I was keen to see how we could improve these. The group I worked with, my teaching group, was a group of 24 mixed ability students, and I did let the students pick their own groups to work in. So they worked in groups of around sort of 2 to 3, and some were groups of 4. And we spent time as part of the project looking at how we work as a group and setting ground rules for group talk and how we do that and how you overcome barriers when people don't agree. So we did spend some time doing that, and I think that was really important. So then the group set their own ground rules for working. The challenge itself was quite challenging as such. It was pitched rather a little bit too high for the students. So we spent a lot of time unpicking what really BT and Huawei wanted the students to do. And once they understood what their challenge was, I really became the facilitator. So I would go around and ask questions and really just making sure students were on the right track. And maybe swaying them and steering them ever so slightly. But ultimately, they worked on the project and they came up with a solution themselves. What was really nice is that I have a group of girls who actually, if you'd asked them at the beginning of the project their thoughts on computer science, it wasn't always particularly positive. But by the end of the project, they actually said they loved computing. And actually, they really enjoyed the project. And what they enjoyed about the project was actually the project played to their strength. As part of the group, they could complete tasks that they were comfortable with, that they enjoyed, and that they, really felt that worked for them. So it was a really, really positive experience. I've loved being involved with it. And obviously, Alison will talk in a moment about some of the feedback. You'll see some of the photographs on Alison's slide about how good the project was. And I'm enjoying iteration 2 as well. And it's been a really, really positive experience.
Great, thanks, Jo. So I want to follow up on that to present some analysis from Jo's classroom as some of the students engaged with this project. And this is a Year 8 computing class. Excuse me. They had the challenge of the digital divide, so very broad initially, and these students explored and chose to focus on the challenge they found some older people have using mobile phones. So they set this local challenge for them to research. There are 3 guys in this group. I've labeled them left, middle, and right. So to humanize them, we'll call them Lee, Matt, and Rob. They were working on individual tasks within their group. Lee was designing the product appearance and features. Matt was researching the challenge to understand the issues. and Rob on the right was using Scratch to model interaction with the interface. So whilst they were working on their individual tasks, we can see that they were also sharing suggestions to feed into each other's work, presenting over the next couple of slides a sort of multimodal trajectory, but a very short extract, about 15 minutes from this lesson. So we can see over here, Lee is very pleased with his design. He shares, yes, I'm a genius. So perhaps taking some individual ownership of elements, but also we can see affirming of group identity, as down here a few minutes later, in fact, 1 minute later, he said, there's our phone in the bottom right-hand corner. So this real coming together whilst working on individual aspects of the project. A few moments later, we notice that the group collaborate to name their product and their phone. They input suggestions. We also can see that they're drawing on industry conventions as they use the TM and the Jazz enterprises to own this space that they're creating. Just to make the labeling more confusing, Lee and Rob switch places. They do this to test out the interface that Rob's been programming. And interestingly, as Lee goes over, he says, right, can I play? Doesn't say, can I test it? So we can perhaps draw that he's taking a playful interaction. And we know from the research evidence that intrinsic motivation is far more engaging for students to want to be involved and do their work. And that's really interesting to see. So through collaboration and discussion around their tasks, the three of them realize what's missing from their work. Lee tries something over here and Rob realizes, oh, I must not have put that in. And a bit lower down, if you can see that, Lee tries something else and Rob realizes I need to fix that. But we also see slightly earlier, as Lee's trying something in, there's coffee morning on, clicks yes and hits enter and says, hey, it works. So they're developing it as they go and quite obviously enjoying some of it. And for those of you able to read the transcripts, we can see some playful interaction going on again around here as the group show that they're actually enjoying, perhaps trying to break the system there. So across this short extract we've presented here, we can see a sense of shared ownership and affirming of group identity in the activities. Whilst the individuals are working on separate aspects of the group project, they're talking together to share and offer ideas, which enriches the final solution. And we can see that as Matt, the first time we hear his voice, presents to the class 6 weeks later, and he shows it that our brand new phone, but grounded in the original challenge. I'll just talk very briefly about some survey data that we collected, which Joseph mentioned. We asked the students to respond to 8 statements indicating how they felt before the internship and afterwards. So obviously a subjective judgment based on a Likert scale, but an indication of the students' perspectives on that. We were able to conduct statistically significant analyses, and all 8 statements showed a significant increase from pre to post score. This was based on 58 students who undertook the computing survey. So I don't have time, unfortunately, to go into it, but very positive as an overview of how the students responded on a number of markers. So just some next steps. We're building on the early successes from phase 1, iteration 1. We should currently be in iteration 2, but things have had to be paused at the moment, given the current situation. We are exploring how we can optimize the virtual intentions of the project through exploring the school's existing pathways for communication with students. Longer term, we're working to develop a scalable model that can be contextualized and localized to schools whilst maintaining integrity to the programme. I hope that's given a good overview. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear them, or those are our contacts if anyone wants to share after today.